Hey guys, what's up? It's 8-Bit Eric, and today marks the second anniversary of the Nintendo Switch. 2 years have gone by rather quickly. It seems like it was just yesterday that the console was revealed and launched, and I started talking about it on this channel. So, how do I feel about the Nintendo Switch 2 years later? Let's go ahead and talk about it in today's video. So yeah, happy birthday to Nintendo's latest console. 2 years old. Again, flew by, and a lot of things have happened. The Switch honestly has a huge library of games. That's the first thing off the bat that is noticeable about the Nintendo Switch. Now, a couple years ago, when I started covering Nintendo Switch content, my goal was to review every Switch game, and for a while, it was possible because there was only a handful of games coming out every week, and then suddenly it just snowballed, and Nintendo was releasing like 10, 20, 30 Switch eShop games all at once on some weeks, and it just became hugely backlogged. Like, it was like impossible to keep up and review games properly, so I fell behind. But some people may say it's a bad thing that Nintendo Switch's eShop is filling up with so much stuff. They're calling it shovelware, they're calling it ports, mobile ports, indie games, and you know what? That's a fair argument. There is a lot of games that are cheaper and more available on different platforms that are all over the eShop. There's mobile ports of games that you can play on your phone for free even that are being charged on the eShop. Is that understandably a good complaint? They're not wrong. If you're upset about games that are being charged or even more of a price on the Nintendo Switch, then you have a point. I'm not going to sit here and defend that. I know that there's some games on the Switch with that Switch tax where I'm like, really? I gotta pay $10 more for Toe Jam and Earl physically than if I got it on the PS4. I understand completely. For some reason, Nintendo Switch games cost more because the cartridges, I guess, are harder to port over data on and compress and all that stuff. I'm not getting into the technical aspects. So that is one definite bad thing that I could say in regards to the Switch's library, is that it's often more expensive to play some of these games that are on the other consoles. Not to mention, a lot of the games that Xbox One and PS4 get don't come to the Switch in a timely manner either at all. Oftentimes, we gotta wait a few more months. I've seen up to like 6 months to a year that we have to wait for certain games, like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, for example, and the Spyro Trilogy that is still rumored to be coming over. It's only a matter of time when that comes. However, I personally like the Nintendo Switch, and I know the main defending argument that a lot of us Nintendo Switch fanboys say is that it's portable. I love the portability of the Nintendo Switch. It's come in handy so many times, especially when I fly to different conventions or go on road trips or even just chill in my bed watching football. It's very handy to be able to play something, and I'm not going to act like Nintendo didn't have something going with the Wii U and the 3DS. As a matter of fact, I think the 3DS and the Wii U were the catalyst for how great the Nintendo Switch is. It seems like they took a little bit of everything from both of the last two consoles, combined it into one, and made a hybrid console, which is why I'm always going to be supportive of the Nintendo Switch no matter what. You can call me a fanboy, you can call me a Nintendrone, whatever you want to call. I personally enjoy this. I wouldn't make content or hop on the Nintendo Switch bandwagon and talk about it since day one if I didn't believe that this system was a lot of enjoyment. The main reason why I think the Switch works, and the best thing about it, is because the accessibility and portability not only goes with how you can play the Switch on the go and at home, but also because a lot of the games are so easy to pick up and play. You just hand your friend one of the Joy-Cons and voila. You can play up to like 4 people on one tablet on the go. A lot of the games are easy for people of any age. Children, adults, elderly folks. A lot of these games are so much fun to pick up and play, especially some of these local couch co-op games. And I think that's the main thing where Nintendo shines with the Switch, is that there's a lot of games that encourage that old school traditional way of playing multiplayer games. You know, the couch co-op games that you can't beat that. Sure, online multiplayer is where it's at. People want online multiplayer experiences, and that's all fine and dandy. That's the future, that's current, that's modern gaming. But an older gamer like myself, who grew up, you know, playing NES, Atari, and Super Nintendo, and Television, and games like that, will always appreciate the good games, the good times, the good memories that you can get out of playing a good local couch co-op game with your friends. And there's a ton of them, especially the Nintendo Switch indies. A lot of games that have flown under the radar that I've tried to cover over the past 2 years, and there's a ton. There's so many that I've yet to experience myself. And if you want a system where you could take it on the go, play it with anybody, anywhere, anytime, plop it on your TV, play with in tablet mode right here next to your friend. You know, if you work at McDonald's and you have downtime and you want to play with your friend in the kitchen, you can do it. And I think that's fucking phenomenal. Not to mention, okay, let's talk about the great first parties that the Nintendo Switch has had. Mario Odyssey, fucking best Mario game of all time, debatable, next to Galaxy and 64, and hell, I would even say New Super Mario Brothers U, which also came out. But what I'm saying is Mario Odyssey was such a great masterpiece, such an enjoyment to play. I enjoyed it. It was an instant classic. We got Breath of the Wild, which was also on Wii U, but it was also on Switch. Sure, it was on both consoles. The last 2 or 3 Zelda games were actually like that. Twilight Princess, you know, Wind Waker, all of them. They eventually get ported over back to back. So that's no brainer. If anybody finds a complaint with that, they really haven't been paying attention to how Nintendo's operating with the Zelda franchise. Why would you not port over a Zelda game? That's money to be printed, and the main thing of business is money. So Breath of the Wild, again, awesome classic. And then there was also other games that were just so much fun to play. You know, Skyrim was ported over to the Nintendo Switch. I played that on PS4 and Xbox also, and I will play it even if it was fucking on my fucking phone or something. Like, every iteration of Skyrim, I'm gonna play, and I thought that was a big deal. There's some good heavy hitters out there, you know, third-party Bayonetta, we got Minecraft, we had Rocket League, we had some, you know, bigger indie titles like Undertale come out, Stardew Valley. There essentially is something for everybody with the Nintendo Switch, and I think that's its strongest point, is that we have a console that not only can you play Mario and Zelda on, but you can also play Skyrim, you can also play Xenoblade, you can play Doom, you can play fucking Rocket League, you can play Minecraft, you can play Splatoon, you can play Sonic the Hedgehog on it. You can, almost every single genre that you can think of is on here. My main dream pipeline game that I want over onto the Nintendo Switch that's not been announced yet is GTA 5. And I know that's an old-ass game, and I know people are going to be like, why is Nintendo wasting time putting games that are over 5 years old on its console? Because they sell. Everybody's hooked on this for whatever reason. And there's no sense in trying to think about why or complain why people have a preference to play it on the Switch. It's video games. Just have fucking fun with it. And I think for the first 2 years of its lifespan, Nintendo basically just said, you know what, let's just fucking keep it simple. And that's always been their mantra. Try things out of the box, but at the same time, keep it simple. People want these overpowered hype, you know, computer technology, fucking fantastic graphics, all that stuff, and that's all fine and dandy, but the ultimate thing is, are the games fun? Sure, you can throw all these AAA games out every year on your console like Sony does, and then they go on sale fucking 3 months later because everybody plays through them, and there's really no point, once you beat the game, of sticking to it. They just don't age as well, in my opinion. And then, you know, you got those online-only games where they're only as good as the community that's based around them. But to me, a Breath of the Wild or a Mario Odyssey will live on classically and timelessly forever because they're great single-player games. What more could you want? I know games like Anthem, Apex Legends, and Fortnite are the talk of the town right now, but in 15 years, nobody's going to be playing those. 15 years, people will be playing Breath of the Wild. People will be playing Mario Odyssey. People will be playing, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles. Games like that. Now, sure, Nintendo has games like Splatoon that won't be worth a crap after, you know, 5 years from now when they don't support the server for that. But, I mean, there's just such a great wider array of Nintendo first-party games. And sure, the third party on the Switch needs to be a lot stronger. I'm going to be honest about that. It needs to be a lot stronger, but honestly, it's not technologically possible unless they upgrade the Switch, which is the rumor that's been going on for quite a while, but we're not going to see any huge AAA games coming to the Nintendo Switch without any kind of I guess, downgrades or exceptions or any kind of workarounds. That's the honest truth. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. There's so many games already on the Switch. There's over 1,000 games. My backlog is so fucking ginormous. All these physical games back here, I've probably played about half of them. And I haven't even completed half of those either. So I have a huge backlog of games. So it's okay that Metroid Prime 4 has been delayed. You know, that was the coup de grace for 2019 coming out. Metroid Prime 4. Nintendo scrapped it and started it back up from the ground up. I think it might not even come out on the Nintendo Switch at this point. To be completely honest, we might not see Metroid Prime 4. But I'm not really too upset. I know I'm not a Metroid fan, but you got a lot of great fucking games to play on the Nintendo Switch. And a lot of indie hidden gems and so much stuff coming out. Now, there are some weaker spots of the Nintendo Switch again, like the Switch Online service. Right now, we're being drip-fed NES games. There's a rumor of Super Nintendo coming. Okay, you know, Nintendo's online service needs a lot of work. I would like to see achievements or trophies added on. I'd like to see more exclusives like Tetris 99. I'd like to see a better voice chat option or apps, maybe Discord integration, something like that. That would make the service a lot more better. But for 20 bucks a month, you know, you kind of got to look at both ends of it, play a little bit of devil's advocate. I personally think it's cool that I can play Tecmo Bowl with my friends like I did it with RGT 85. It's pretty legit, but it could use a lot more work. Hopefully in 2019, we'll see a lot more third-party support, a lot more bigger titles coming out. You know, Yoshi's being thrown out here very shortly. I'm excited about that. And I think that the Switch is, you know, as long as it continues to sell, we're going to see a lot more support from it. It almost seems like Nintendo wasn't expecting this much success, so they really didn't plan much after its first year. They kind of got caught a little off guard. I know Nintendo hasn't come out and said that, but I'm thinking Nintendo was not prepared for the amount of sales and success that the Nintendo Switch got. Now it's year 2. They got to put up or shut up. I know one of the major common complaints, my good old friend Mike Matei actually today tweeted me back to one of my jokes. There's like a shovelware Twitter where I'm like, oh, please port this, because they definitely do port a lot of Wii U stuff. I know that's the biggest complaint. You know, we got like Mario Kart 8, we had Bayonetta, we had what else is a Wii U port? Hello Kitty Racers, Hyrule Warriors, Donkey Kong. And it also seemed like every other month we're getting a port, which to me, it's not such a bad idea. I just don't like playing on the Wii U. I never did, even when I owned it. The gamepad was bulky, and everything just seems like it's so much better playing on the Switch. Why not? That's me. But Mike Matei, my good friend Mike Matei, actually was like, when I responded as a joke to a shovelware game saying, please bring it, he goes, oh, don't worry. I'm sure Nintendo is hard at work remastering or making games, because that's all they seem to do with every other game. He's not wrong. There's a lot of stuff that Nintendo seems to be basically just running around in circles. We're getting the same old NES games brought out. We're getting Wii U ports. We're getting, you know, I'm excited for it, Link's Awakening, but it is a remaster. I know a lot of people would rather prefer a brand new Zelda game in that style being made. And yeah, that's just how it goes. But honestly, that just seems that way because Nintendo's constantly under the microscope. The industry always focuses on what Nintendo's going to say. And I know that makes me sound like a fanboy, but it's fact. Facts. So, year 2, Nintendo Switch, compared to year 1, I would say year 1 was an A+. Year 2, I'm going to give it a high B, a B+, only because it seemed like things slowed down on the first party and third party front. We didn't see as many big release titles as we did year 1. I guess that, again, is because they weren't expecting it. But we definitely did see a huge influx of indie titles, retro video games being released on the eShop. We got all those Neo Geo games and arcade archive games, the Johnny Turbo games. But we also seen a lot of good compilation discs like SNK 40th Anniversary Collection. So there's a huge amount of good ports, arcade ports, indie ports, mobile ports, third-party, you know, lower tier third-party games. There's a huge amount of content out there. So just, I know a lot of people are disappointed saying there's not enough good games coming out. Okay, that's a fair example, you know, when the PS4 and Xbox are getting some of these huge third-party titles like Spider-Man and stuff that, you know, are obviously exclusive to their platforms. But there's good third-party AAA games that aren't coming out to the Switch. People are getting frustrated with that. But guys, there's also a lot of good stuff coming out. We got that Damon Machina coming out. We got that Platinum Games game coming out. That looks fucking badass. We have a lot of JRPGs that are coming out soon. The games are coming. I think year 3 is going to make up for how slow year 2 was. Again, I give it a B+, a B. It was not a bad year at all by any means, but it was also a lot slower than what a lot of us guys would have anticipated or wanted. So, yeah, I like the Nintendo Switch, obviously, or else my Nintendo wouldn't be completely dedicated to it. And I'm behind on it. So that's why I'm doing a lot of these gameplay videos, a lot of these streams, Let's Plays, just covering some of these titles. I'm going to be making a point to try to focus on some of these major physical releases that come out. My wallet can't handle it. You know, my wallet cannot handle it. It's amazing. It's an amazing time for Nintendo fans. There's a lot of stuff coming. It's great that there's a console being supported more than ever. I can't recall another time that a console with Nintendo had this much enjoyment since, what, the 64. I'm sure the GameCube had some third-party titles and all that, but I can't recall so much hype behind a Nintendo console since the era of the Nintendo 64. So happy birthday, Nintendo Switch. Let's go to year 3. It's going to be great, guys. So, guys, again, if you're new to the channel, throw a subscription. Make sure you're notified. Click that bell. Keep up with the content. Comment, like, all that good stuff, because our stupid YouTube robot sucks. But I like to make this stuff for you every day. Doesn't matter how many views I get, how many subs I have, or this or that. It's all about just making content about a video game console and video games in general. Not just Switch. I like retro. I like PS4. I like Xbox. It's about just making content about something that I love. This is my hobby. I love it very much. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't without any of you guys. And you know what? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't without Nintendo in the first place. So guys, thanks a lot for watching. As always, I will see you on the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.